So our monies. It's about public budgets, budgets of your community, budget of your country, just the budgets where you put your taxes in and get money or infrastructure or services back. So I will give you a little bit of context of what budgets are about. And then I will walk through the online presence. I hope the internet is working. It will be live. So the website is online for a couple of years now. I will talk a little bit about data. They come in surprisingly different shapes. And then a little bit about the future. So the setting. So this project started about 5 years ago when I was a little bit active in the Lübeck local politics. And I wondered where the deficit came from. It's very unclear. Nobody really knows how that appeared and how to get rid of it. That's not only a problem of Lübeck, it's a very widespread problem. Budgets are complicated. So wait. So I got some data from our town, and I just wanted to see what's in there, how I could make some sense out of it, how to, I don't know, find out what's going on. That was all voluntary effort, and now I decided to make a real project out of it. So I bet my future on this. I hope to earn some money with that. It should be a sustainable, nice project. 2 months ago, I had my kickoff, and that was the official start. So now this project is alive. Actually, yes. So actually, I showed that before at ESUG, at Show Us Your Project, a couple of years ago. And, well, we'll see. So for budget visualization, there are competitors, which is actually a good thing. So I can compare things. I can say, this is like this, but better, right? So the competitors are really bad, and this is actually the reason why I did this, because I wanted to understand the budget, and they didn't help me. So I had to do it myself. I will show them later. Also, there's this open data movement. Like 5 years ago, I think there was a peak of this movement, and all the public bodies wanted to publish data and thought this is a good idea. Actually, it is a good idea, but it is an interesting symbiosis between open data and the applications using them. So usually, up to now, communities publish their data, they just dump them, right? There's nobody using them. Nobody knows what quality there is because nobody's using them. So when we talk about open data, we always have to think about the applications using them as well. Otherwise, they are quite useless. There was a big EU project about this topic, Open Budgets EU. It started in 2015, lasted about 2.5 years. It's finished now by 1.5 years, and is a complete failure, I think. So that has 3 reasons. I will go into that a little bit. So now I want to just show you a little bit of things. So this is mine, but I will show you the competitors first. So there's something like Open Budgets. This is from Cologne. We are in Cologne. This is the city here. So you can see these are the expenses, and this is the distribution. Fine, you can click in there, get more details. You get a list of the details. Yeah, and that's about it. There's another one like this, where you get basically the same stuff you get from the PDF. The communities are obliged to publish. So the original data look like this. You cannot see much, of course. So the structure is always the same. It's like the profit loss account of a company. So the public bodies try to adopt this new scheme for calculating their budgets by being more accurate to the reality. For example, if you build a street, the street will be used for 30 years. In the old system, when you have to pay the people who built the street, this is in the budget in that year. Now, in the new budget, this is stretched over like 30 years, the lifetime of the street, which is much more realistic to get an idea of what the budget, if the budget is healthy or not. So it usually contains, not big enough. The first one is the revenues. So it's basically taxes or some, how do you say, well, basically taxes and some payments for services, direct services. If you get a new passport, you have to pay money and stuff like that. The expenses, usually this one is the most important one. How much do you pay for the people who work for the government? And there's, of course, other things. There's transfer money, which you give to people who don't have enough money, who need support. And this all together gives the result, the operational result. Then you have to add some finance stuff. So all the communities have debt, so they pay interest on that. And then you get the final result, which is in this case here a planned deficit of 2.2 million. This is a very small community. So you have usually 6 or 7 columns, where the first column is the actual result, the executed budget of 2 years ago. So let's take this example. This is from last year. So we are in 2018. We have the result already from 2017, and we plan 2019. So that means the first one is the results of the year before. The next one is the plan of this year, and then the plan for next year. And then the 3 ones after that are, well, projection. It's kind of useless. It's not good data. It doesn't say much. So, but they spend half of their space for these kind of data. Fine. So the new structure of budget is that you have these kind of profit-loss account for all the services community offers. So they break it down into products, and each product has its own like balance sheet. And the total of all the products is then the whole budget, which is a nice thing because it's more accountable. But imagine you have like 130, 150 products. Each of one is presented like this. How much transparency can you expect? It's very difficult to understand, to make connections between the different things. But we have this open data movement, and people publish data. And sometimes they are very similar to that. Actually, this is very nice data structure. So here we have the products. That's the product ID, the product, the title of the product, and here's some over the hierarchy in which the product is in. Then you have the profit loss account, and these guys are so-called accounts for each kind of expense. For example, salary of things. You have here the tax for dogs, the tax for secondary homes, stuff like that. But they all go in the first line of the profit loss account for taxes and similar things. But they're structured into more detailed accounts. But they're still quite high level, so you cannot actually make a connection to real expenses or stuff like that. So this is what I got, basically. That's the base of everything. Now, we come to open budgets. That's this big EU project, and it failed. So the nice thing about it, it had deliverables. So it's an academic project mostly, and they produce a lot of paper, which is quite nice. And actually, it was quite nice. So they developed a nice RDF representation of this kind of data. And actually, the whole description of why you would like to have that and how you should do that is very valid. They just didn't do it in a practical way. So one problem was, if you click on one of these deliverables, you see the secondary headline, Open Budgets, Fighting Corruption with Fiscal Transparency. Great. Okay, so we have a project, and they say, you are all cheaters. Come on, this is, we will find that, but give us your data, okay? So, so that is difficult because you want the cooperation of the communities, but you, well, no, it's not a good idea. So that was the first problem. Second problem was the data structure. So instead of, oh, did I close it? No. Instead of having this kind of structure where you have the six, let's have some data here somewhere. Anyway, you have 6 years. They think it's a better idea to have one file with the year in one column. So you could have a line for 2016, one line for 17, for 18, and stuff like that. This kind of file would be increased in size by times 6. And I don't know, I'm a computer expert, right? But to make this transition from this structure into the other structure is not trivial. Even I have to think about it for a couple of minutes. So I don't think that any of the public servants who are underpaid and overworked actually are any motivated to do that. So there's a second problem. They want to encourage the communities to give their data in their format, but the format was not practical. And then, if they really managed to do that, which only few did, the result is, what you get is something like this. So why do take all this effort to transfer the data in a format to just get this? So this is the 3 points of the failure, I think. And actually, although everybody said in their deliverables, yeah, we will continue and this service will run forever, they all died out. So all the websites are down now. So just a short.
Christian?
Yes?
Yeah. What's your
question,
criticism?
please.
What's your criticism about this diagram?
Oh.
You said it's not good, but why is it not good?
Okay, you will see the contrast. So you have to judge for yourself in a minute. So this is my thing. It's live on the web. It's unsere-gelder.de. It's live, and you can check yourself. So there's some interesting communities where I got some data from: Berlin, Hamburg, Bonn. I tried to do Cologne, but didn't have time for the conference, before the conference. But these are 8, right? And there are maybe another 10 where I can get data from out of 11,000 communities in Germany. So it's not very much. Anyway, if I have the data, and here, okay, there's some things interesting is here. Oh, here's one. The data I use for the visualization is online. So you can download it, try it yourself, and come up with an even better solution. Here is a little smiley thing with some comment about the quality of the data. So for example, Hamburg has a very advanced open data transparency law. Everything has to be published. Everything has to be published the government needs, except for some privacy issues, but they have to justify not to publish it. So everything by default is open. This is amazing. Interestingly, the data are really, really bad. So I can show you why later. So some are really, really good. So for example, the smallest one has very nice data. So what do you see? Basically, you see the same account, the same structure I showed you in the PDF. So on the left, you have the expenses, the revenues. On the right, you have the expenses. They are summed up, and you get the operative result. You have the finance things, some extraordinary expenses and revenues, and then you end up with the final result. So this is the plan for the year to come. So that's fine. So this bar chart is kind of handy. It's nice to see a long history of the data. And this is everywhere. So you can check the revenues, expenses. You can open up the taxes, see what the taxes are here, or you can see, well, personal is always interesting because it's always growing fast. Well, so this is, I think, a lot more transparent than, for example, open offenerhaushalt.de. So you can dive in and check what's going on. On the left side here is the actual organization structure. The products are organized in groups and stuff, and this is here on the left side. And well, probably not invented, but for me, I call this a dense tree. So for example, a node which had only one child gets deleted. So I don't want extra clicks just to get one thing, right? So if there's only one thing, you show it directly. So that's why here, this is a product with these little bubbles here. And these things are things where more other products in there. So that's why it's not always the same level, but so less clicks. This is nice. So, and you see the budgets on all the levels, of course. Another thing is you can do the numbers per capita. That means you get them nearer to your normal experience. So that means this budget plans 205 euros per capita in this year. Okay, that sounds interesting, more interesting. For example, in Lübeck, the big issue is a theater, which costs 10 million a year, which is 40 euros a year per capita, which puts it in perspective a little bit. So people cannot understand numbers when they are in the millions or stuff, but this you can understand. So the next feature, okay, one thing for why this is so cool or better than the others, I stitched together these budgets. So I create long histories, which all the others don't do. I don't know why, it's not that difficult. Okay, another distinguishing feature is it's a ranking. I just put all the products in a list, and then you can sort, for example, by value of this product, or by the change. The change is very interesting. And the change in percent. This somehow, no, it works. Okay. I don't know why. So this is interesting. So here there's something, and then you can jump back to the details and explore further where this change comes from. So that's about it. That's what I have. And that's my starting point. So now I forgot where I am, or what I want. Oh, the question of why this is better than this. You can choose between expenses and revenues. Why can't I see them side by side? Why can't I compare them? Do I have to open another browser to see that? You can choose a year. Oh, how cool. What does other past years interest me? I mean, the budget is now, the actual budget is the most interesting thing. So stuff like that. And you don't get any overview. The only information you get is the absolute number and the relation of the numbers to each other. Well, I have that, of course, too. This is important information. This is in here. But this is only one aspect. So I think you need many aspects to visualize these things. Oh, I'm almost out of time already. It's unbelievable. Okay. Here we go. So I just showed you a few things. And, okay, that is of course bad. So the normal house structure looks like this. As I told you, the red framed thing is the current budgets you're planning. The dark one on the left for 2017 is the actual executed budget. So if you stitch that together with the last year's budget and the year before and the year before and the year before and so on, then you get something like this. And if you see here, this column, for each year, you basically get 6 versions of the budget in the end. Where most interesting is the comparison, no, I can't see. So the comparison between the executed budget and the plan. This is the most interesting thing. And you don't see that in any visualization, even not in mine, but this is highly on the list. This is very important. So this is ideal data. This is cool. Less ideal is when you have a double budget. Many communities do that. And then what happens is every 2 years you get these things and you cannot compare, for example, 2018, the executed budget, because it's just not there. You need to have another data file from somewhere, but it's not following from these structures. And then you have these things. They just publish the plan for this year. Completely useless. So this is what most of the data I have look like. So, okay, that's about this. So now the big picture. What you saw is the blue box on the left. This is the visualization of the budget. And my business plan is to sell this to communities to have their data published, visualized. And I think if it's good enough, they are willing to pay some money, which keeps my company afloat, hopefully. The other part is a catalog. So I want to collect all the public data, and I hope for a community to help me with that. They should upload the tabular data or PDF, and then the great plan is, since I do PDF a little bit, I can extract the data from the PDF. So I will solve the problem of getting the data out from them without them having to cooperate. And they, of course, they cannot do anything against it, right? So it's interesting. But if you do that, you have the possibility to get completely new information. For example, imagine you have this expenses for the personnel. In Lübeck, our mayor just bragged with it that the personnel cost is only 25% of the overall cost. Is it a lot? Is it not a lot? I have no idea. No idea. But if I could say here, do me a ranking of all these communities I have, the quota of the personal costs against the total costs. Then in the ranking, I would see, is it on top or less? And then you have exactly, you find out exactly if it's a lot or not. And you can see who's better, who's worse. You can compare. This is very exciting. So this kind of data is not available right now. It is just not feasible to acquire this data. You could put a lot of students on there, go through all the PDFs, calculate the quota and stuff, and after a couple of months, you might have a number. Here, it should be on a click, right? So 10 milliseconds, and then you have the ranking. So that is exciting. And this should be, of course, user-definable. Everybody should come up with their own quota they want to find out and do a ranking with. Yeah. So that would be cool. There are other ideas to improve. So the whole layout here is completely wrong. I did it according to the official structure, but it's wrong. I mean, you go onto a site, like say Hamburg, to see how bad it really can be. For example, here you have expenses. Okay. You have expenses, yes. Okay, cool. So, but if you go there, you have to scroll down to actually go to the real numbers. So these guys have to be on top. They have to come out right away. So I want to turn the whole thing around and go from the top, from the expense. Okay. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to go from the overall result down to the details. That's a better structure, definitely. Here on the left side, the hierarchy, that is an official hierarchy governed by the state. They have laws to do this, that they have to publish in this structure. But the reality in the administrations of a community is different. It depends on the people who are heading that and the political constellation who gets to administer which products. And this hierarchy, I want to have on the left side to have switched, to have the possibility to switch to that. Another one would be to have a self-defined hierarchy. For example, if you are interested in certain aspects or certain products, you should be able to group them into a new group and then get the profit loss account on this selection. That would help a lot. And of course, comparison. You should compare the executed budget with the planned budget, and of course, compare the communities to each other. So I'm almost done now, I think. No, that's about it. So, questions, please. Thank you for your attention.
So I have two questions. Sorry, guys. One, how applicable or portable this would be to other, like to English language and to other communities, let's say in Canada, where I live. And the other question, and I'm so sorry, I forgot what it was. So answer just the one. I knew I had two. I forgot what the other one.
I think it's very well applicable. The structure is almost the same everywhere, I believe, because they have to justify the budget. I mean, the budget is at the heart of the democracy, right? The parliament gets elected to decide on the budget, and every country or
All right. So the second
No,
question
okay,
is,
so-
what incentive do the bureaucrats and politicians have to switch to your system if it makes them more accountable in theory?
yes, that's the purpose.
What's the
Most of
what's
the
the
politicians
incentive?
actually are idealistic and want to change the world to a better place, and usually they want to display their achievements with some facts and stuff like that. So I don't subscribe to the view that they all want to hide their things. But I don't know. Not enough data samples on the wild yet to do that. Yeah, it's like a weapon, can be used for the good or the bad, right? So
I want to comment
yes, please, Georg.
the question. In my hobby life, I am sitting on a city council board, and the board members or the board as total has to approve the budgets, and they have the power that they want information, and that's possibly a way to force this. And while he was presenting, I sent already to the Lord Mayor of our city a link to your
Great,
stuff,
great.
including copies to the people who deal with the money in the city.
Yeah, so one aspect is that the budgets are really complex, really complex. So any community, I think, has not more than a handful of people who really get into that, to understand that. And I want normal people to take part in the decision, to be able to understand and compare and judge what the budget is about. So that's yeah. Okay, thank you.